So I've got a very interesting relic to share with you today. This is Saint Didacus of Alcalá. He was born in 1400 AD in San Nicolás del Puerto, Andalusia, and he lived a life marked by humility, simplicity, and unwavering service to God. Baptized with the name Diego, his later name Didacus, derived from the Greek didache, meaning teaching, reflected his role as a humble teacher of virtue. From a young age, Didacus joined the Franciscan Order as a lay brother at the Arrizafa monastery near Córdoba, dedicating himself to menial tasks, tending the sick, and prayer. His unassuming dedication earned him respect among his peers. A pivotal moment in his life came when Didacus was chosen to join a missionary expedition to the Canary Islands, despite lacking formal education or theological training. His selection was a testament to his unwavering faith and devotion to serving others. On the islands, Didacus ministered tirelessly to the poor, attending to their physical and spiritual needs. His humility and compassion endeared him to the local population, who saw in him a true servant of God. Amid his daily work, miraculous accounts began to emerge. Lepers were healed. Didacus was serving at the convent of Arrizafa and miraculously healed a young boy who was on the brink of death. Upon touching the boy, he was instantly cured. There are many other stories of Saint Didacus performing miracles related to food and sustenance. In one of these, he multiplied food in the Franciscan friaries where he served. Despite the large number of brothers and the scarcity of food, they never ran out of provisions while Didacus was in charge. His service in the Canary Islands tells of a time when the islands were suffering from a terrible famine. Saint Didacus prayed and made the sign of the cross over a single pot of stew, which then miraculously provided enough food for everyone on the island. Such miracles earned him a reputation as a saintly figure, both during his lifetime and after his death. His incorrupt body and the sweet fragrance it exuded after his death in 1463 further solidified his sanctity in the eyes of many. He was canonized by Pope Sixtus V in 1588, and Didacus became the patron saint of Franciscan laity, the sick, and of caregivers. His feast day is celebrated on November 13th. Didacus exemplifies that sainthood is not achieved through grand deeds, but through sincere devotion to God and compassion for others. As Jesus Christ himself taught in Matthew 23:11, "The greatest among you must be your servant." Didacus's life is a reminder of a divine greatness found in humble service. There's also something very interesting that I wanted to share with you about Saint Didacus. And this was about the Spanish ship that sailed into San Diego Bay in 1602. It was part of Sebastian Vizcaino's expedition, and it was named the San Diego in honor of Saint Didacus of Alcalá, which of course is San Diego in Spanish. Vizcaino arrived in the bay on November 12, 1602, a day before the feast day of Saint Didacus, which is November 13th, and he decided to name the area after the saint. I'd wager that the majority of the people in San Diego have no idea of the saint that their city was named after. And what a beautiful story that was on Saint Didacus. Let's take a look at this relic. I'm going to lower this light down just a little bit here. What I want to first show you is this is hand-cut glass. This is a very ancient relic. You can see the front label that I have here on the front. Saint Didacus, great healer and miracle worker. And I want to show you kind of the edges here of this glass. Very beautiful. They just don't make things like this anymore, right? We don't see that. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. I would say this relic probably dates to the 1800s at least. I don't think it's a 1700 work when it was put together, but there is a possibility. Either late 1700s, early 1800s is when I typically see this type of artistry when they create the relic. So it is a hand-cut glass right underneath there. And of course, you can see in here, it says Saint Didacus, C for confessor, for great preacher. So he was a great preacher. This is ex ocibus, so from the bone here. I'm going to give it a nice little zoom in here, take a closer look at this. Let's see some of the artwork in here. Now, if you're wondering what this is within the relic, these are actually wax. So this is a wax little scroll put together. Some monk or nun diligently created this relic and placed that in there. Just beautiful. Isn't that beautiful work? So let's zoom back out a little bit. Let's take a look at the seal here on the back. And we'll see how old this threading is. Look at that beautiful, beautiful seal. You have to be very careful when you're dealing with an older relic like this. The seal is a little loose. So it's a little loose on there. Now it's on the paperwork. It is still good. It's got very, very old string. So the string that goes in, it's tied a little knot on each side. Very faded, very old. This has been through the mill. It's been handled a lot. And I know I've handled it myself. Now, I actually had it in a reliquary back here. And I took it out before I started. So I had it in this. And I'll zoom out a little bit to give you a better idea of this. This is what I was keeping it in. A nice reliquary just like this. And I had it inside with some red velvet in the back. So I just took that out for this particular showing here to show you this relic here. St. Didacus is very good at healing. I've been using him actually almost nightly with some bodily issues, pains that I've been having in my legs. So I've been placing St. Didacus specifically on my leg and asking Didacus to intercede for me. And I've been seeing some amazing things. So Didacus, very powerful on healing. What a miraculous life he led. I mean, honestly, what an amazing life. How beautiful. And especially being so simple and leading a simple life for Christ. Not doing any of those great deeds that you would think that someone must do in order to become great. He preferred to stay out of the light. He preferred to work with the poor. He preferred to work with the sick, to serve others, to be just like it says there in Matthew. The greatest among you must be your servant. And he was definitely a servant. And look what he became, a great saint and incorruptible. His body never corrupting because he lived such a life dedicated to God, such a life of love and service to others. Just beautiful. So about a month ago, I had some people over to my house, some friends from church, and I opened my house up for a relic showing. So I had about 27 people, I believe I counted, over. And some of the people I didn't know that came in. And it was beautiful seeing their reactions with the relics. And towards the end of the night, as everybody was packing up and they were grabbing their jackets and saying their goodbyes and spending the last moments with the saints. A lot of them I gave exorcised oil to, and they were using that exorcised oil, little bottles to touch to the different relics, and they're writing down their names and, saying their prayers and asking for their intercessions. And as they were leaving, this couple came up to me, and the husband was speaking with someone else, and the wife came up and she pulled me aside and she asked me if, that she was having some things in her life and what saint would I recommend for her. And she asked specifically if she could borrow a relic. Now, I try not to lend out my relics too often because obviously these are priceless treasures that I don't want to get broken. I don't want them to be misused or to, possibly get lost or stolen or anything like that. It's always a cautionary thing for me. So I love my relics and I love them to go out to people, but I also have to kind of keep a cap on it. But for this lady, I could hear the pleading in her voice, and she asked me, who would I recommend? So I said, okay. The first name that popped into my mind was Didacus. And I'm not sure why. Out of all the relics that I have, all the wonderful saints, all the beautiful miracles that have occurred, Didacus. And so I said, Didacus. And she was like, who is Didacus? And I said, let me go get him. And I actually had him upstairs. I didn't have him on display. So I went upstairs and I grabbed his reliquary and I brought it down and I handed it to her. And she said, I'll have him back to you in 48 hours. And I said, not a problem at all. So off she went. She took Didacus home with her, she and her husband. And 48 hours later, I get a text message from her, and she says, hey, I've had so many miracles in my life in the last 2 days. Can I keep him to the end of the week? And I said, absolutely. Go ahead. Keep him for the end of the week. And so a couple more days go by, and I get another text message from her, and she says, I hate to ask you this, but can I have him until the end of the month? And this was, the beginning of the month. And I had to chuckle to myself, and I went, good old Didacus, he's working so much in this lady's life and her husband's. And so I, of course, responded, absolutely. You can have him until the end of the month. And end of the month, sure enough, she got Didacus back to me. And I asked her, I said, can you tell me some examples of what happened with Didacus in your life? And she responded and she said, she was like, I wish I could tell you, but there were so many miracles and so many things that happened from having him here. I don't even know where to begin. She was like, I will tell you next time that I see you. And I said, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. And I love to hear stories like that. So Didacus went off to spend a month with her, and she and her husband, and many, many wonderful things occurred in their life. And that's the beauty of the saints. That's the beauty of the saints and the beauty of the relics even. But, you don't need to have a relic to have a great devotion to a saint. You don't need to have a relic to have the saints intercede for you. But it is beautiful seeing people when they borrow a relic or they take a relic. Just the other day, in fact, let's see here. Do I have it here? Hang on just a second. Okay, here we go. So, I know I've shared this relic quite often. I've shown this in many videos before. And if you haven't seen this in a while, or perhaps you haven't seen this before, this is a pectoral cross. Typically, it'd be worn by someone high in the church, a cardinal, a bishop, an abbot, an abbess, someone like that in power and authority. And this is a relic of the true cross. And you can see the back of the seal here. Very beautiful seal. Beautiful relic, true cross right there. You can see it says Ex Cruce, DNJC, Jesus Christ. Okay, so I was, this was it Christmas Eve? Yeah, it was Christmas Eve Mass. So it was Christmas Eve Mass. I was out at a church I don't typically go to. It's in my area. And so I was out at this church and I saw a really lovely couple. And they were sitting in the pew at the end, and I had this relic in my pocket. I carry the true cross with me everywhere I go. I always have this relic with me. This is probably one of my favorite relics to carry. It just always brings me such comfort. So anyways, I saw them sitting there, and this thought popped in my head. And the thought was, you need to let them borrow this relic. And I didn't act on it. I walked out the door instead. So I started heading out to my car. And this was, late in the evening. And as I was walking out to my car, again, I had that feeling, you need to let this couple borrow this relic. And so I stopped. And so I realized, okay, I need to catch them before they leave. So I went back to the front door and I waited. And a few moments later, she and her husband came out. And I went up to her and up to the lady, and I said, to my good friend, and I said, I had this feeling. I said, I'd like you to borrow this relic. And she was hesitant at first to take it. And I said, no, please take this and borrow it for the week. You can have it for the week. And it ended up that they actually had the relic for about 2 weeks. And It was amazing hearing how this relic interacted in their life and the miracles that happened. Like, let's see here, her daughter's husband's niece ended up, a little 6-month-old baby, ended up in the hospital with severe RSV. And this baby was on the brink of death. They told the family that the baby may not live, had a good chance of not making it. And so this lady grabbed her relic immediately. She grabbed this relic and she prayed very, very hard and asked God, Jesus, please, please intercede, intervene in this. Please heal this child. Do not allow this child to die. Only 6 months old, RSV. And so it was really a touch and go moment. And about 30 minutes later, the family called and told her that the baby had stabilized and that the doctor said everything was going to be just fine. And she immediately took that as a miracle, because it was such a severe moment. And just praying to God and just asking God and holding on to this relic here and praying, please, Lord, please hear our prayer. And it happened. And that's the beauty of the saints. And that's the beautiful testimony of these wonderful relics. So if you get a chance, go to your local church, go to your local Catholic church, wherever you attend Mass. And if you're not Catholic, go find your local Catholic church and ask the priest to take you to the relics in the church. Every church has relics. Relics are in the altar. You can find out what type of relics are in the altar. And a lot of priests have relics around the church or in their own rectory. And you can venerate these wonderful, wonderful, beautiful saints. So I highly recommend that. Always have a devotion to the saints. They are beautiful. They're just a moment's notice away. Just a prayer. Just asking God to intercede. Asking God to please hear your prayer. Lord, hear our prayer. So let's pray to St. Didacus here. I did not mean to talk for almost 20 minutes here again. I have a tendency to start talking and not ending. So let's say a quick prayer here to St. Didacus. Ask him to intercede on our behalf. And we'll end this video here. All right, St. Didacus, you who healed so many people, who the city of San Diego is named after, and so many souls, like I said before, have no idea of the great patron saint that they have of the city. We are reaching out to you today because we know that you loved God. We know that you loved Jesus. We know that you followed Jesus to such a high aspect that your body is incorrupt. We know that you were close to the saints. You loved the Blessed Mother. And we know that you just loved living a good and holy life. Please, St. Didacus, help us to lead holy lives ourselves. Help us to focus on Jesus, to follow him. When Jesus says, come, follow me. Help us to be able to be detached from our lives, to step away when need be, and just follow God, just follow Jesus. Help us to find the healing in our lives that we all need. All of us need healing. Some of us is physical healing, some of us spiritual, and some of us mental. So for all of those that are praying to you today, St. Didacus, especially through this video, we ask you to hear their prayer, to go to the Father, to go to Jesus Christ, and ask him, Lord, you who love us and want only the best for us, if it be the will of the Father, if it be Jesus' will, to please answer all of their prayers. St. Didacus, pray for us. Okay, my friends, I think this will end this video here. I will see you in the next video. And I want to thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, priest, religious, anybody that has a devotion to the saints, or anybody that would like to learn about the saints. And even those people that do not know about the saints. Reach out to them, for they too need to find God. Thank you so much. God bless you.